Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast. Since 2014, My Latin Life has been your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. Today, I have a special episode for you guys. This is an episode about Argentine citizenship. A lot of people are interested in Argentina and specifically the 2-year path to citizenship. And some astute observers and LATAM enthusiasts have probably heard that there's a way to go straight from a tourist visa to citizenship in Argentina, meaning you can get citizenship in Argentina without ever becoming an actual legal resident, which is pretty unique in the world. So we have an anonymous guest here today, a friend of the podcast who preferred to remain anonymous in order to share this deep intel that you're about to get today. But he's a Argentina passport holder. I've seen the passport myself. I know he has it. And he's going to share a little bit about his experience and his knowledge of this particular situation. So welcome, fellow Argentine enthusiasts, to the podcast.
Thanks, Vance. Thanks for having me.
So I'll just keep saying "man" or "good sir." I don't keep the anonymity, but that's accurate, right? You have a Argentine passport in your possession.
I do. Yep. Acquired it last year. Would have been Q4 of last year. Towards the end of the year.
Okay, so Q4 2023, and by your accent, sounds like you might be American.
Correct. Yep. Born in the U.S.
Okay, so we've narrowed it down to 350 million people, and that's I'll try my best not to narrow it down any more than that. Um, but is what I said more or less accurate, that it's possible to go from a tourist visa directly to citizenship in Argentina?
It is possible. I am a case study of it being possible. I know that there's a couple of hundreds of other cases of people doing it. It's not the traditional path because not many people know about it, number one. And I think most people don't understand kind of how the citizenship process works and how it's granted in Argentina. And I obviously did a lot of due diligence leading up to my own decision to take this path. And I've done a lot of research, read a lot of court cases and things like this. So I'm pretty knowledgeable on the process. Obviously, I'm not an Argentinian immigration lawyer, but I have done a lot of research, and obviously I've been through the process, so have a good understanding of how things work.
Cool. And I'll preempt this for people who don't make it all the way to the end of the episode. There's going to be a way for you, the dear listener, to speak to both myself and our anonymous Argentine enthusiast friend here if you would like to speak to him directly about his particular situation, because you, dear listener, might be interested in Argentina citizenship. It's obviously going to be a paid call. We don't want to waste the time of our anonymous friend here. But there is a way, if you look in the description of this video, in the description of the podcast, where you could work with us directly to start implementing this for yourself. So, continuing with the podcast, I guess, I guess tell me more about the experience. I don't know if we want to start at the beginning or start at the end.
Yeah, let me just give a little bit of background, which I think might be helpful and a little bit of context. So, Argentina is a very open country from an immigration perspective. It's always been that way. They basically kind of uh, took a look at what the U.S. was doing, or maybe the U.S. took a look at what Argentina was doing with like the Ellis Island immigration stuff back in the day, and they kind of copied that model. I'm not sure who was first, but they were very open, and the reason for them being so open is because if you think about it, it's a massive piece of land. Argentina has a ton of space and they need people to fill and fuel the economy. So that's kind of why they've been so immigration friendly. Specifically, European immigration is kind of like what they've been known for. But that's not to say that I know Chinese people that have done this. I know Russians that have done this. I know pretty much every region of the world that have gone the path that I've gone. And really, what the only true requirement that you need in order to apply is to have been domiciled in Argentina for 2 years. And if you're a domiciled inhabitant of Argentina, you can apply. So, what being domiciled means is, this is literally what I did, was you go to a police station in anywhere in Argentina and you register your address and your name. Say, hey, Policial Federal or whoever, I am living at this address. Consider me a domiciled inhabitant of Argentina. From there, you can take that and take that to court with the help of a lawyer, and start the application process.
Okay, shit, dropping the sauce. Okay, so we register at the police office. Are we doing that when we arrive in Argentina and then we wait 2 years? Or at what point do you rock up to
Yeah.
the police station?
Yeah. So I will caveat saying I did not have 2 full years at the time that I applied. And I would encourage, if people were serious about doing this, to apply as soon as possible, because what we can get into is, like, there's a process to building the case and getting all the paperwork and doing all the kind of like the procedural things that you need to do to present your case in front of the judge. And that takes, a good amount of time, possibly even, we'll call it, 18 to 24 months. So you can kind of accumulate the time that you're actually living there, gaining the putting the time, the boots on the ground, while kind of the case is moving in the back end. And that's what I did, and that's what I would recommend. Because the other way of doing things is, let's say you're going to go through the legal residency process. You're going to, become a resident of Argentina. You're going to get your DNE, which is just an ID in Argentina. You have your residency permit. If you take it that way, you'll have to wait until you've actually had the 2 years on the ground. Then you can apply. So we're talking 2 years plus another 2 years of the procedural stuff that I just mentioned. You're really going to get your passport, citizenship, in 4 years, as opposed to two, like I did. So you save a ton of time, um, and it's quite a bit easier, in my opinion and experience.
And this is all made possible because of the Constitution.
Correct. Yep.
Could you expand on that a bit? I thought when I looked at it, it didn't say the word domicile. It says a different word, but you tell me.
Yeah, I'm not. I looked this up when I was going through the process. I can't point to the exact law off the top of my head, but basically, it's just it's like a domiciled inhabitant, um, and that's really what it means. There's kind of like this whole thing about like serfdom and slavery, which is, this is getting like really technical, but
Go
there's
for it.
like
We got time.
it's like it's getting into basically becoming a citizen. Getting your citizenship letter is effectively like you're free, and like you're not a slave. The actual immigration system, like getting the residency system, etc., that was actually created for like slaves. So becoming a citizen is actually like for like freedom, and be like you're a free person of the land. I probably didn't do the best job explaining that, because it's been a little bit of time since I've actually looked at this stuff, but because I have been through the process now. But that's kind of like the history of it, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, because I looked at this a little bit when I started hearing about this. And yeah, it said the word like inhabitant or something. And so people have obviously it's sort of a gray definition where, it doesn't specifically say the word resident, which is kind of what makes this whole thing possible, right?
Yeah, exactly. And when President Macri came into power, he enacted a law in 2017 to effectively kind of like block these cases. So from the period of like 2017 up until there was a decree that was passed, I think in 2020 or 2021, that wiped that decree, that mockery passed in 2017. So now it kind of got reopened up again. But there was a time where it was kind of blocked, and cases weren't moving as quickly. But before or after that period, uh, this process has worked.
Okay. And again, just to sort of reiterate it, or to go into more detail about what I think some people's burning questions would be. So you enter Argentina on a tourist visa. I guess
Mhm.
maybe you try to get like a rental contract. Is that necessary?
I used my Airbnb, if you can believe it or not. They are not, yeah, no one cares. You just have to have an address that you are currently living at. So, yeah, I use my Airbnb. I mean, we can get into the amount of time I spent there and my time living there. I did eventually, have a permanent place where I was living, but actually on my application, the address that was, mentioned was kind of my first address that I had, which was actually an Airbnb that I was staying in temporarily.
Because a lot of people get caught up on the address. Because obviously, my Latin life, we're a immigration consultant, and when we help people get residency in Mexico, Paraguay, and other countries, people get really caught up about what address should I use, but they don't realize that there's really no mail in Latin America.
Yeah, so I think they used to. I don't. They didn't do this in my case. I don't think they're doing this anymore. But I think they used to actually go and check to see if you were living there. So they would have like a police come by later in the like the citizenship case process and be like, "Hey,
Uh
are
huh.
you? Is this actually your place? Are you living here?" But they haven't done that in many years.
Okay. For Paraguay citizenship, there is a visit as part of it. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just so you know. Okay. And so you enter on a tourist visa, Airbnb address. You sounds like you register with the police department pretty early on. Like I guess even like literally first month on the ground.
Yep. Yeah, that's kind of step one to kick off the process.
Okay. And then I guess you get 3 or 6 months on the original tourist visa when you enter the country. Is the idea to overstay that visa, or do you do like some border runs with Uruguay or something?
Yeah, so you can do. I mean, this is really up to the individual. I overstayed my visa a number of times in Argentina. It's actually not illegal to overstay a tourist visa. You end up having to pay a very small fine, but it's not against the law to overstay a tourist visa in Argentina. What is against the law is doing border runs. So you're actually probably more at risk doing border runs. The reason for that is because you'd be considered a spy. In the olden days, yeah, it sounds crazy, but in the old days, people would enter, like, use the Uruguay Argentina, specifically the Uruguay Argentina border, the Colonia to Buenos Aires kind of border. They would use
Very.
that, and they would run border runs across that, and they caught a handful of spies doing that. So that's kind of like why they made it illegal to take advantage of the system like that. Now there's no hard rules. There's no like, hey, you overstay, or hey, you do 6 border runs, or we'll give you 3 border runs before we start asking questions. It's just random. So anytime you're entering Argentina, you're really kind of just at, and I guess this is for any country really, you're at the discretion of that border agent. So how they're feeling that day,
Mhm.
maybe they could be pissed off, have a bad day. Hey, why have you been here for 6 of the last 7 months? Why are you coming back in here? And every 90 days you're leaving and coming back. Are you a spy? Are you doing border runs? So it's actually a less risky strategy, as crazy as it sounds, to just overstay your tourist visa because it's not illegal. So yeah, that's kind of that's the approach that I took, and that's what I would really recommend to most people if they want to do this.
Okay. And is there some sort of guidance for how long you need to stay in Argentina during those 2 years? Like, do you have to spend literally the 2 years consecutively? Can I go home for Christmas?
Yeah, so this is really confusing how the Constitution is written for this section. It basically says it translates to you must be living continuously for 2 years, a continuous period of 2 years. Some
Uh,
people interpret that as I can't leave the country for 2 years, but that's actually in practice not the case. Again, no hard rule. Obviously, more time is always going to be better because you're showing it's a process where you're applying before a judge. The judge has discretion, right, to make the decision. If they see you've spent one day in Argentina over the last 2 years, well, guess what? They're probably not going to give you the. They're probably not going to pass you through. If they see you've spent, you spent 10 months 1 year, then the next year you spent, 11 months. You took a month to go back home. That's a little bit more understandable. But no, you do not need to stay 24 consecutive months, and you have the flexibility to come and go. It's just kind of like you should be spending the bulk of your time there. Generally recommended, keep it above 7-ish months is generally speaking kind of what people recommend. But again, no hard rule on that.
above 7 months a year, which can be done on tourist visas. Okay. We're giving away a lot of sauce in this episode. My God. Guys, if you're listening to this, please like and subscribe. We're dropping a lot of sauce here. Okay. So let's keep it moving. You mentioned judges' discretion comes into consideration here. Could you speak to the level of consideration or the importance of the judge?
Yeah, pretty important, actually, extremely important. I think there is, I want to say 14 or 16 of them, and some of them are
14 to
some
16 judges, sorry,
correct.
that will look at your case or like in general
You'll get assigned one judge.
of this. Okay. So you'll get
Correct.
one of the 14.
Correct.
Okay. Keep going.
Yep. And there's 14 or 16, and this is in and this is not in Argentina. This I'm speaking to Buenos Aires. There's 16 judges there. So it is very important. And yeah, basically how the process works is, and this is whether you're a resident, whether you're not a resident, like even if you're a resident, a judge can say, no, you're not a citizen. It's just completely up to their discretion. So you put the case together, you build the case. Hey, here's this document, that document, here's my income, here's how much I'm making, here's what I'm doing, here's my immigration record, here's showing I'm not a criminal, et cetera, et cetera. Gather all that, and that's presented before the judge. And the judge says, based on this information, you can become an Argentinian. Here's your Carta de la Ciudadanía, which is your citizenship letter to go, swear in, become an actual Argentine citizen. So that's really how it works. And yeah, again, that's if you have legal residency, if you don't have legal residency, even if you're like married to an Argentine or you have an Argentine kid, those people are still going through the process of applying before a judge.
Okay. And random side question: is Buenos Aires city autonomous from Buenos Aires province, or is the city part of the province? Are they two
It's
different jurisdictions, or is it the same jurisdiction?
yeah, I don't actually know that. I mean, it's like there's Cabo, which is Ciudad Autonom, like the actual autonomous city of Buenos Aires, and then there's the Buenos Aires province,
Uh huh.
which is way more outside of like the actual capital. But I don't know. I think they're two different jurisdictions. Yeah.
Okay. And so, if you were applying in a different jurisdiction, would like say you live in Mendoza, or you prefer to spend the 2 years in Mendoza, are things going to look different?
Things will look different. Um, I know that there's certain spots that are better than others to apply, and I know that there's some that have that are worse than others. So yeah, I'm not gonna like go through and I won't list all of them, obviously.
That's
But
on the
yeah,
paid call.
Yeah, there's spots where you'd want to apply and where you wouldn't want to apply.
Okay, guys, book your call if you want to learn where to apply and where not to apply. Because me, if I'd live in Argentina for 2 years, I don't know if I'd be in Buenos Aires. I think I'd be in Mendoza, Bariloche, literally even Puerto Iguazu. I like Puerto Iguazu. Um, so who knows?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Buenos. That's one of the good things about Argentina is that there's a lot. It's a giant country. There's a lot of spots. There's kind of something for everyone. I think everyone thinks that Argentina is just Buenos Aires, especially like people. Like I think Argentines get mad by like everyone thinking that Argentina is just Buenos
I
Aires.
mean, it is like half the population, right? Because it's
Yeah, no,
like
yeah, it's
22 million of the 44 or something.
yeah, it's a huge population size for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I could actually spend 2 years in Puerto Iguazu, but yeah, maybe Mar del Plata or something. Who knows? Okay.
You got Mar del Plata, you got Mendoza, got a couple spots.
Yeah, yeah, Cordoba. Okay. Um, so the judge has a lot of impact here. Should we buy him flowers and chocolates, or how do? um, is
Yeah. So yeah, no, obviously you can't buy them chocolates, but this is where this is where the secret sauce really comes into play, and this is where it's important to know which judges push cases through and which don't. And I would say that the majority of people that do immigration in Argentina do not specialize in citizenship. They specialize in residency. They specialize in these other things. Very, very, very. So actually, I would say there's a. I can count the number of people on less than one hand that know how to actually follow the process that I followed, and they're not easy to find, and there's a lot of confusing information. So that's where the secret sauce is, really, is having the connection and the insight to the people that know how to get this done legally and efficiently. And that's really the sauce.
okay? And I know in Latin America and most countries, when you want to apply for citizenship, they kind of look at your substantial ties and your ties to the country, and they want to see maybe do you own property? Do you have a job? What else? Do you have a company? Do you employ people? There's lots of different ways to build ties. Are ties going to be important in this particular process?
They can help, but they're not that important in this process. The real things that they want to see is not you're not a criminal. If you are a criminal, it can still be done, but it complicates things. You must be 18 years of age. You must have 2 years actually domiciled in the country, um, and you must have a way of supporting yourself. And that does not need to be a local job. It can be a number of different ways. It can even be there's in Argentina. There's a lot of people that work. They call it en negro, which is like they get paid cash. That is accepted for citizenship. So it's to recap, it's residency, have a way to support yourself. There used to be a Spanish requirement. They're no longer doing Spanish tests, so you do not need to speak Spanish. Um, Need to have not be a criminal. Um, and then there's a couple of other like smaller things, but those are the big ones. Having a house doesn't really matter. Having kids does help. That actually will speed things up, and being married to an Argentine, that also will speed things up. With the kids and married, you do not. That wipes out the physical requirement, the 2 year physical requirement. So
Meaning
in
you
theory,
can, go ahead.
so there's a lot of people. There's been a lot of cases of like Russian citizen, like people from Russia, Ukraine, et cetera, after the war, going and doing birth tourism the last couple of years. in Argentina. So they'll go there, wife's 8 months pregnant, has a kid. They're just doing a lot of birth tourism. There's been massive Russian and Eastern European immigration to Argentina to take advantage of that.
And so you're saying that there's no 2-year presence requirement if you have a baby in Argentina. So you
Yeah.
can, as soon as the
So
baby's born, you could go apply for citizenship?
yeah. So what happens is the baby, due to you probably know this better than me. Is it what's that?
Juris solis or juris sanguinis?
Yes. So due to that, the kid is an Argentine citizen. The parents apply based on having an Argentine kid. They do not need to stay in Argentina for the 2 years.
Cool. Yeah, that's something I'm looking to do as well. Might do that on the next one.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and speaking of, again, for the audience, I feel like I'm shilling more than I normally do, but we do have an Argentina birth tourism package service on mylatinlife.com. So if you check out the services page on mylatinlife.com, there's an Argentina birth tourism package, and we help you every step of the way. Cool. And so you said you need to be able to support yourself or demonstrate that you can support yourself, right? Did you have to show savings? Did you have to print out bank statements or?
Yeah, I didn't. I got my income. I had it. I basically had an accountant just certify what I was doing and that I had income, but it can be done a lot of ways. Like I've seen cases where, and this is going to sound strange, but the way of supporting themselves was literally like, oh, I'm a US citizen. My Argentine, or it doesn't have to be an Argentine, but like my husband supports me. And then it can literally be like I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like a letter from on behalf of saying like, this is my husband's income. This is how much he makes. He's supporting me. So it can be done in a lot of different ways. It just needs, yeah, they just need to have proof that you have a way of supporting yourself, whether in whatever way that is. And there's no needs to be this much amount of money, nothing like that. Just has to be something.
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by BitRefill. BitRefill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you are a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Holze, the author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. So what is job stacking? It's this idea of working multiple remote jobs. You might have heard Rolf, he's worked 5, 7, even 9 remote jobs at the same time before. And by the way, job stacking works equally well for non-technical roles. So no, it's not just for the nerds. So if you're ready to job stack, Then book a discovery call with job stacking and see how they can double your income in just 9 weeks. In the show notes in the description, there will be a link where you can book a call directly on the Calendly of job stacking and be talking with them as early as tomorrow about how to double your income as quickly as possible. Okay, cool, cool. So that all sounds pretty straightforward. Now, I've kind of heard whispers that people say that this process might not be available in the future, and they're kind of like tightening the screws on this thing.
I saw that too. I saw a article recently that said they're going to tighten this, and yeah, it makes sense. It's kind of a crazy process when you think about it, like going from a tourist to a citizen in such a short amount of time. Um, I know it happens in other countries. Like Argentina isn't the only country where this is a possibility, but yeah, I could see it getting tighter in the future for sure.
And I also heard that the cases used to get processed a little bit faster, but now, due to the aforementioned Russians and so forth, the system's a little bit gummed up now. Is that your experience?
Yep, I think um, there's uh, my contacts who I worked very very closely with on this have told me that I think there's been a 5x in the amount of cases over the last 10 years,
Hmm.
and there's still the same amount of you know people working on the cases, so process has been slowed down a little bit. um, and again, I think as the world continues to globalize, that's going to continue to be the case everywhere, really.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. I mean, it's because it's kind of this whole trend of things getting harder, both for residency and for citizenship around the world.
Yeah, yeah, I think, yeah, it's just like as it's just so easy now. There's so much information. It's so easy to pick up and move across the world. Used to have to, like, think about the original people that went to Argentina. They heard from some family member that there's opportunity in this faraway land. They take a boat to get to Argentina. It's now it's you buy a flight for $1,000. You rock up on your tourist visa passport or whatever, and you can, yeah, it's just things have changed. It's gotten, and with any, I feel like anything too easy or too good to be true, anything in life really, that's gonna get found out, information to get passed, and then it gets harder.
And I think part of what makes this possible, I think we touched upon this earlier, but that the Constitution has just remained unchanged for so long. Like has been no amendments to nationality law and so forth in over 100 years, something like that. I'm guessing.
Yeah, other like I mentioned earlier, there was that law that got passed in 2017, which made things a bit more challenging, but it got repealed in 2021. But who's to say like something like that doesn't happen again?
Mhm.
Which is again why I wanted to take advantage of this while it was an option and while it was a possibility.
And random question here. This is available to both men and women because a lot of these early citizenship laws from over 100 years ago didn't really apply to women. And women's citizenship was basically given by the man, something like that. So, is there any kind of weird thing with that in Argentina, or?
Nothing. No, that's that's funny, but no, there's nothing like that.
Okay. Yeah, I was just reading about how that was the case in Mexico. And I think really a lot of countries actually, where anyway, it doesn't matter if it's, so that's good. So this opportunity applies equally to men and women.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And you mentioned no language test, which is great because a lot of people ask me about that because a lot of people think they're going to fail the language test for these citizenships. Did you have to do anything? Did you have to like know the national anthem? Did you have to do a history test?
Nothing, nothing like that.
That is pretty insane, I must say.
Yeah,
Do
nothing.
do people who go from residency to citizenship, do they have to do a citizenship test or
Same
a history
process.
test? Same
Same
process?
process. Yep, same process. The only difference, so the big caveat again is, you know, if you're doing it this way that I took it, that I did, is you need a lawyer and you need a very specific legal representation to be able to get it done, because you yourself can't go in and apply like as an individual in this manner that I took. If you are doing it the legal residency process, you can do it yourself. There's no need for a lawyer. You can go apply for yourself. You take your D&E. But if you show up with your passport and if you show up to the courthouse yourself with your passport doc and your police stamp, they're going to look at you like you're crazy. You can't even I don't even think you can get a appointment to do the application that way. So that's the big caveat.
So you mentioned the DNE a couple times. I've heard that they're pretty hard to get, even for the residents, and people are like waiting on it and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I have a friend who was I think it took him like 9 months to get his legal residency processed. So I think it's really slow. I don't know I looked at them when I was going through the process, obviously, and like considering getting residency, and when I was considering living in Argentina, basically. And I don't know there's not a ton of good residency options, I feel like. Um, in my opinion, like if you just want to live in Argentina, it's better just to overstay your tourist visa into eternity. I know there's people that have done that. You go on, like I know people that have overstayed for 5 years, 6 years, and again, it's not illegal to overstay a tourist visa. So that's kind of the way. If you just want to live in Argentina, I think that's actually the better move.
And people who have been doing this for 5, 6 years, they've obviously left a couple times. When they come back, are they getting hassled or is it come right in?
Again, super dependent on the immigration agent. I've heard it go both ways. There's cases of people that have been doing it for like 15 years. It's just like the more I think what draws a bigger kind of like attention to yourself is if you're border hopping, because that again that's illegal. If you're taking advantage of the border hop, if you're 89 days, go to Uruguay for one day, come back the next day. 85 days, take a flight to Chile, come back 4 days later. I think that's going to get flagged harder than someone that just had an overstay and paid the fine. And, they're by legal accounts, like they're good. They paid the fine.
And just to go back to the D&E again, one sec. I'm not sure if this is secret sauce or we can divulge this, but we referenced how it takes a long time to get the D&E, even through the legal residence process. Like some people are waiting 6, 9 months to get the D&E, which is a pretty important doc that they ask you for everywhere in Argentina, right? So how is it that you were able to, like, are tourists able to request this card normally?
No, tourists can't get it. No. So I did not have a DNE until I was a citizen of Argentina, and then I got my first DNE, but it was actually a citizenship DNE.
Okay. And was that an issue at any point during the process?
Not at all. You can do anything in Argentina. I guess I think the only thing you couldn't do would be one might want to do would be open a bank account. Um, However, I do know personally of a friend of mine who opened up a bank account without a DNE. It's just a bit more challenging, but it can be done. Um, I live in Argentina without a local bank account. It's totally fine. It's a cash economy. so you're paying cash for a lot of things anyways. Um, and now you can even use your Visa credit card and still get, pretty much what the blue dollar rate is. I'm not sure what it currently is at. I think it's like 1,500 or something at the time of the recording. But yeah, I don't know why you can rent an apartment without a DNE. You can do most things.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And do you feel Argentine now? Do
I
you feel
do. I do. Yeah.
like
When I swore in at the ceremony, they told me that the guy told me I am no different than someone that was born in Argentina. I now am the same as them. So I do feel Argentine. I drink mate. Um, yeah,
nice? I was going to ask you that. I'm actually drinking mate right now, but I got Paraguay and mate.
yeah, yeah. Drink mate. Do a lot of the do picked up a lot of Argentine things.
Nice. I'm drinking Kurupi. I don't know if they sell Kurupi in Argentina. Maybe a little
I
bit.
never heard of it. I'm
Never
drinking
heard Kurupi.
Taragui. Taragui.
Taro. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a classic one. Okay. Okay. And yeah, actually, tell me a little bit more about the kind of the swearing in ceremony and all that and the process. And actually, to back it up, most people don't realize when we talk about people talk about the passport a lot. I need a second passport, but a passport is really just a travel document, and usually, citizenship is recognized earlier than that with some sort of citizenship certificate, right?
Yep. Yeah. So the high level, judge says that you are deemed to be an Argentine, and you can go swear in to become one. So you'll get a date to go to the court, swear in at the swear in ceremony, which is super informal. It's not like a big deal. I thought it was going to be like this cool like thing, but it was not cool. It was very very casual. Um, you basically go swear in. They give you the what's called La Carta de Ciudadanía, which is your citizenship letter. With that citizenship letter, you can then use that to get your Argentine ID, your DNE, as well as your passport.
And how
Which
much of
again,
a delay was there between getting the Carta de Ciudadanía and getting the passport?
dude, absolutely blown away by this. You can go to Aeroparque, the airport in Buenos Aires, the domestic airport, and you can get your passport in 6 hours for, I think it costs like $80 or something like that to get it done in 6 hours. So go in the morning, take your picture, go back a couple hours later, passport in hand.
Okay, Aeroparque. That's not the international airport, is it?
No, but you can do it there too. There's a bunch of places where you can get it a lot of different places.
That does kind of blow me away. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think the U.S. it delays. I mean, at least a couple weeks. I think, or I mean, a couple days at least.
Yeah, yeah. It takes time, man. It takes time.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you got the Carta de Ciudadanía, and I'm assuming you're holding on to that for dear life and making sure you don't lose that
Oh,
document, right?
well, man. Here's the thing. So I mentioned the swearing ceremony wasn't glamorous. The carta is like handwritten. I have it still, but it's not a very official looking document. It's like handwritten. They spelled my name wrong, and so they put a little white out on it, like wrote over it. It's not like a very like cool, like sexy thing, but yeah, I still have it. But I don't think I would ever need it for anything.
Hmm. Did you wear a suit to the swearing in ceremony?
No. Yeah, very casual. It's not a
Okay.
big deal. It's literally it's you like go into a like back like a almost looks like a filing cabinet room, and there's a guy who you take one of the three oaths, One of them is religious. One of them is non-religious. Another one of them is, I think there's three. I can't remember what the third is, but you take one of the three oaths. You repeat it. You say
You
it.
get the choice.
Yeah, you get the choice.
I was going to ask if you had to swear on the Bible or something or the
No,
Constitution.
you can go religious, non-religious, and I think there's one more, but I can't remember exactly what it is.
Okay. So it's pretty chill. You swore on something. Yeah.
Yep, sworn. Um, Basically, that everything that you've represented is honest. You're not making any false claims. It's all been represented accurately, like your case, and then um, yeah, they'll give you the carta from there.
Cool. So you got the carta and then you got the passport. And I'm guessing you've probably used this passport to enter other countries at this point.
To be honest, since I've gotten it, I've only traveled on my Argentine passport. So yes, correct.
So now it's like your primary travel document.
Yeah, it's a good pass. It's a really good passport. You can go anywhere for the most part that you'd want to go. I mean, you don't have visa-free access to the U.S., um, but you can go Europe. You've got every country in Latin America. Pretty much got Asia covered. It's a really good passport. It's strong.
And is there any reason that you're using the Argentina passport as opposed to your American passport for international travel?
So I have only traveled in South America, and I with South America, there's this thing called Mercosur, which is I'm sure you're aware of what it is, but I'll explain what it is for the audience. And it's basically an agreement between the countries of South America. It's Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil. I think Paraguay's in it,
Yep.
and Chile as well, and then I think Bolivia. So I think those are the Mercosur countries. And then there's what's called like associate member countries. Venezuela got kicked out of Mercosur, I'll mention. And then there's associate countries, which is Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and I think that's it. So the associate, non Mercosur associate members, it's the same thing. So I can enter countries now without even uh, like I just traveled to Brazil, for example. I showed my Argentine DNE, which is my ID. I didn't even show my passport. So I just showed I feel like you're better received in South America, traveling on a South American passport because they have the Mercosur agreement. So that's why
Mhm.
I've used it. I don't even show my passport, rock up Argentinian, DNE, enter a country.
And the DNE, does it say country of origin as Argentina or as USA?
It has your birthplace on it.
It has your birthplace.
Yeah.
So if your birthplace was, China or Russia or something, um, does it indicate that you're a citizen versus a resident in terms of the DNE? Because that could
There's
impact the travel mobility.
yeah, there's a resident DNE and then there's a citizen DNE. I would assume no. I would assume you can't. Yeah, there's no way. If you have a resident, like let's say you're a resident of Brazil, I don't think you can enter Argentina with it's a CPFA. Or no, it's not a CPFA. Yeah, it might be. What's it called in the
Some
ID?
kind of card.
Some card. So if you have a Brazilian residency, but you're not a citizen, I don't think you can enter Argentina on it. I think you have to be a citizen of the country,
Hmm. And so
which
they
makes
can
sense.
tell that you have a citizen DNE versus a resident DNE.
Yep, correct.
Because people ask about this a lot. They say like, "Can I travel South America with my Paraguayan cedula?" And the answer is kind of yes, kind of no. It does still depend on your nationality.
Yeah, it's something I haven't thought about, but yeah, I would assume a border agent's going to just ask you for your passport. Like if you have Paraguayan residency and you're trying to enter Peru, but you're actually, Canadian, I would assume the Peruvian border agent's going to say, "Hey, show me your Canadian passport. You can't come on
Hmm.
this." I would assume.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure people have heard stories. I've definitely heard stories, but I know a guy. I think he's from Kazakhstan. He was like a software developer, and he got Paraguay residency, and he bought a car, and he's like, "I'm going to go rip around all of South America," and I think he couldn't get into Argentina with his cedula because Kazakhstan doesn't have visa-free Argentina,
Mhm.
and so he like. He got blocked out, something like that. So people don't realize that just because you have the cedula doesn't matter until you get the citizenship. If that Kazakhstan guy became a Paraguayan citizen or an Argentine citizen, then he would have increased mobility.
Makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
What else? What else do we not ask about? We only have a limited amount of time left. Is there anything else you thought we didn't mention?
Yeah, I mean, I can talk a little bit more about the benefits of having it. And I think there are a number of benefits. So, number one, Argentina is a neutral country. They don't have any real enemies. It's a small country. Like, I mean, it's big physically, but the population is not massive. So, it's not going to be a country that's going to get involved in any sort of world wars. Everyone always talks about Argentina as having great food security and good food like supply chain, a lot of water, a lot of land. I completely agree. I'm not kind of like I think there's going to be like, I know people like Argentina for this. Like, it's like a great end of the world destination if there's like any kind of, you know, uh, global another pandemic or like something like this, and it's like a good place to escape if there's a like any kind of nuclear war or something like this. Sure, that's fine and dandy, but what I really like it is that it's just a country that has a good reputation. um it's always had a pretty good reputation. It's like when you think about Argentina, what do you think? Like, you think of soccer, you think of Messi, you think of steaks, you think of tango. So you're pretty well received, I've found, when traveling on the document. Um, it is a nationality that can't be taken away from you once you've got it. So that's kind of nice. Um, there's no I know people are concerned about like them having tax issues and global wealth taxes and stuff. They do have a global wealth tax that is only if you are a tax resident of Argentina. So if you are not living, working, etc. in Argentina, you are not subject to that global wealth tax. So for example, if you become Argentine, you move to Brazil, well, you're not a tax resident of Argentina. It's not like the US where you have tax residency follow you everywhere.
Hmm.
I talked about it's got good visa free travel. Um, the Mercosur agreement is pretty sweet as well.
Hmm.
So I have the right to live and work in any country in South America. So that's really, really, really cool, especially if you have interest in living and working in another South American country. Um, it's not as simple as the European Union, where you can literally just like cross borders, go get a job, you don't need to do anything. Like, you have to apply for the residency still in that country, but it's so easy. It's you just need to have a background check. Basically, for most of them, you just need to have a background check and kind of like what you're planning, a letter saying like what you're planning on doing, and you'll just get residency in that country. And that includes a work permit to legally work in the country, etc. That's a huge benefit. Um, and yeah, I'll stop there because I talked a lot. I don't know if you have any follow up questions on anything.
Yeah, a lot of people ask about this renunciation thing. and they say, oh, Argentines aren't able to renounce the nationality. And then what if whatever conscription or citizenship based taxation or this kind of thing, and I can't renounce? We've kind of done a lot of digging in the My Latin Life community, and what we've kind of determined on our end is that a naturalized citizen can renounce through a judicial process, but a natural born citizen cannot renounce. Does that line up with your experience, or you tell me?
That is correct. Yes. So if you are a naturalized citizen, you do have the ability to renounce. You do have to go through a judicial process. Wow, I can't say that word. And you have to basically do what you did to get the passport. Say, hey, I'm not a citizen anymore, or I don't want to be a citizen anymore for this reason. Again, you're subject to a judge approving or disapproving that. Um, but it can be done. I have actually read, because I did research on this, of course. I've read cases of it being done, so I know it's possible. It's just something that you have to do. It's not as simple as, hey, I no longer want this. I'm done with it. You can't just throw it away. Basically, you have to go through the process, but it can be done.
Okay, cool. That sounds good. We're just literally up on time now. Is there any last words that you would like to mention before I hit us with an outro?
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, if you're considering, feel free to schedule a call, and I'm happy to walk you through the process, and kind of talk about more deeper into my experience, and go deeper on some things. Um, it's in my opinion the better path overall than going the kind of like legal residency route if citizenship is your ultimate goal. Um, but there's still some pieces and things to it, and like I mentioned, there's one, maybe two people in the country of Argentina that know how to do this. So it's very, very important to have the connections to those people to do it. Totally legal, within the Constitution to do it. So it's not like there's any bribery going on or anything like this. But yeah, very, very happy with how it worked out in my case. And I've helped other people as well through the process.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, so I think a lot of people really enjoyed this episode. So we want to thank you for joining us today on the My Latin Life podcast. I think this is an absolutely spectacular opportunity for a lot of people, particularly young people who, have that freedom of mobility and are down to put in the time in Argentina. Like, what an absolute no-brainer. One of the only countries in the world that has a 2-year path to citizenship to begin with, and the fact that there's no financial requirements and you don't even need residency, absolute no brainer. So, guys, look in the description. There's going to be a link to book a call with our guest here today. Get this process underway for yourself. This is something you do not want to procrastinate on. The sooner you get started is the sooner that you have an Argentine passport in your hands. And like everything in the residency and citizenship realm, things change, and they change unexpectedly. So do it while you can. This opportunity is not going to be there forever. So book a call, and we'll get the process moving for you. Cool. Thanks again, man, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing episodes just like this one, and you won't want to miss an episode. So subscribe, like, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Hey guys, quick note at the end of the episode here. If you made it this far, you might be interested in working with My Latin Life personally to make progress on your internationalization plan. So whether the next step for you is getting residency in Latin America, lowering your taxes, choosing the best country, maybe a little birth tourism, whatever the next step is for you, of course, My Latin Life can help. We've helped people in their 20s, their 40s, their 60s, because I truly believe that Latin America has something to offer people at every stage of life. So if you want to become our VIP client, if you want to work with Vance, myself directly, book a call. There will be a link in the description. There will be a small fee for the initial consultation, and we do that to filter out the time wasters and focus on the best of the best clients. But if you're listening to this podcast and you made it all the way through the episode, I know you're the best of the best. But we're ready to work with you. So book that call. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the My Latin Life podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.